lovely business owners, it's Adele from Super Funky Penguin Photography, your brand photography specialist. And today I'm going to be joined by a lovely lady, Tamzin, and she is a body confidence coach and is all about anti-diet culture. And I've just seen she's there waiting to join, so let's have a look. What do I press, Tamzin? Apparently I can wave at you, but I can't add you. It says you've joined. Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. That's the button. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, Tamzin. How are you?
I'm okay. It works, I think. Hang on, I might have to turn the sound up on mine a little bit so I can hear you. I was like, oh God, is this gonna... Oh, I never know with these things. I always worry.
It's funny because it said that you joined, but there was no button for me to say yes.
No,
that's
all
great.
It was that I joined the live, but then I have to request to be in
Yes.
the thing. So I did that. So it all works, and we're here.
It does.
I think. Can you hear me all right?
I can. Yes. I think yes. I've turned my volume up so I can hear you fine. I'm not going to touch it because my lighting's a bit.
Don't touch a thing. Don't touch a thing. Oh, it's so nice to see you. I've got my cup of tea, which I probably will forget to actually drink. I'll sit here with it the whole time.
That's it, and then it'll be cold.
Yeah, it will be. That's all right. I'm used to that.
So, Tamzin, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Tamzin. I am a anti-diet body image coach, and I help women to let go of diet culture and years of disordered eating. I talk a lot about intuitive eating and body image, and just kind of reconnecting with ourselves outside of the box that we are told we need to be and how we are told we need to look. And yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Does that kind of answer it? It's a very short answer, isn't it? Short,
but it's
sweet,
brilliant. It's brilliant. So basically, from my point of view, firstly, as a woman, I totally get where you're coming from, and I saw a reel that you posted a little while ago that really resonated, which is why I got in touch. It was all about how you avoid getting your body into photos, and it was like holding the dog, standing behind the sofa. I'm that person, absolutely. And then obviously being a brand photography specialist, I work with female business owners predominantly, and I hear it so much, like, I don't like this part of me, I don't like that part of me, and I always welcome that open discussion. I'd rather know, and then I can sensitively and carefully, mindfully take those photos. But then it's those women who don't book because they're waiting for some future version of themselves that, you know, my heart sinks because I think, you know what, that may never happen, and you're holding yourself back. So going back to the reel, obviously that comes from some real life experience that you've been through.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so the reason I made that reel was, and quite a lot of the stuff that I do is inspired by conversations I'm having with other people, and I was chatting to a client of mine about exactly that, brand photography, and you know, she'd finally reached that point where she felt that she was at peace with herself and she was at peace with her body and was able to get in those photos. But it had been a long time coming, and for most of us, especially, you know, for myself as well, as a business owner, it's really important that we do get our face and ourselves and our personality into our business, whether that's through our brand photography, whether that's through doing things like this, lives. A lot of people do say to me, I don't want to go on a live, don't like, you know, people looking at me. We're very kind of, we're wired, and you know, we've had years and years, in my case 2 decades of dieting and being at war with myself and really feeling like I wasn't looking good enough and I wasn't looking the right way. And what does that hold us back from? And this is the thing, when we were talking, you know, we had a chat about, you know, brand photography is a huge thing. And again, you know, a lot of the people who work with me are female entrepreneurs as well. And I think it's a common theme to really want to hold yourself back and think, well, I'll try and, you know, lose some weight, or I'll try and change how I look. And ultimately what I'm trying to get across is that won't change how you feel about your body. It won't change a thing. It comes from somewhere else. It comes from within. And we have to look at why we feel that way, and kind of peel back the layers of these diet culture beliefs that we've been given since we were very little, that we need to be a, you know, Disney princess sized kind of person. We're not allowed to age. We're not allowed to, you know, gain weight, all this kind of stuff. We have to look perfect, and it holds us back from so much. Obviously, in this case, we're talking about photography. And that's what I try and help people with, and that's the reason why we wanted to have this conversation today, to see if we can help other people, if anyone else is struggling with that feeling, thinking, you know, I want to get my photos done, but, or even just being in a family photo,
Yes.
you know, there are many mothers missing from their family photos.
That's true. I'm one. I put my hand up right now.
Yeah,
I'm
it
one of
has
those
been
mums
too.
missing. Yeah.
Mm,
And it's a shame because I'm looking back through, I do photo albums for my family every year over Christmas, and I
yeah,
really struggle to find photos with me in them. And
yeah.
I use the fact that, well, I'm the photographer, so I take the pictures as an excuse, but
Mm.
I know it's much more than that.
Yeah.
I have tried to teach my husband how to take good photos. But you know, when we see photos that other people take, and especially sometimes when it's the little ones taking the photos and they're from a low angle, so that's going to be unflattering anyway. So if you're struggling with, you know, concepts about your body and what you look like, and then you see a picture that somebody down
Yeah,
here has
it
taken,
can feel really
yeah,
mortifying.
it can.
And I think a lot of that comes from when we don't see ourselves often enough. We don't see ourselves from, and like those different angles, because we are usually in control of how the photo is taken.
Yeah.
It doesn't change our body at all. Our body is still our body. And it's just a picture, and it's just taken from an angle. And this is what I'm trying to get people to, you know, in through my coaching business, is working on just seeing yourself as you are, and just being kind of like, oh, there I am, you
Yeah.
know, rather than not waiting. You know, the work that I do around body image is not about feeling like the hottest thing alive, or, you know, feeling like the hottest version of yourself at all. In fact, it's very far away from that. I try and take people to a place where it's just, well, there I am, and that's okay. And, you know, some days you're going to feel good and some days you're not, but it doesn't matter. You can still be in the photos, and you can still be there, and it doesn't, you don't have to even like every photo that's taken of you. And being okay with it, that's okay, it's just a picture.
And as you say, it's like our children don't see the wobbly bits and the extra rolls and the wrinkles and whatever.
No.
They just see mum. And to
Yeah,
sort of deprive them of photos of us when, you know, they're going to look back at these photo albums of the photos that we're not in and go,
yeah,
where was mum in all of this?
yeah, they
And it's
will. And
incredibly sad.
yeah, those memories that we are not in, that we are taking away from the people, you know. We all leave this earth, and
Yeah.
we're sort of not leaving those memories behind,
Yeah.
or not being in them to enjoy them while we're still here. And I think, you know, that is really, really, really important. We are, you know, often one of the most important, if not the most important person in their lives. And
Absolutely.
yeah, we're you know, visibly removed from quite a lot of pictures. And I think, you know, some of the stuff that I've been talking about recently, because photos has been a real kind of thing that I've been talking about a lot. And I was reminiscing about a picture that was taken of me on my 18th birthday, and I naturally hated it. I was on holiday in Greece, and my mum had managed to locate a cake for me while we were away. And there's this picture of me blowing out the candles on my 18th birthday. I mean, so it's, you know, it's a big deal. It's, you know, lovely, and I was there with my family, and I was making a collage for my. I was at college, and I was making a collage, you know, like you did when you were a teenager, of pictures, because I loved pictures. But I didn't like this picture. I didn't like my arms, and I cut the picture because I didn't have Photoshop in those days. I actually cut my arms to make them look thinner, and kind of stuck it up as some sort of kind of goal thing.
Yeah.
You know, this idea that, you know, I've got to, you know, not worthy, and it just completely taking away from what was actually going on in that photo and those memories. And, you know, and also many sizes in another direction, and I feel more at peace now than I did then.
Yeah.
Which is kind of my point. It's not actually about our bodies.
I have noticed that looking back through photos that were taken maybe 20 years ago, when I was much closer to the weight that I should be, if you believe, you know, what we're told. And remembering seeing those photos thinking, oh, I look really awful. And now I look back at them and think, what was I worried about? Because I look okay.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's not about what we look like in photos. It's about our perception of ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, if anyone's kind of looking for a tip today, let's see if I want to share it. My tip would be, if you're looking back at a picture and you are in a different size body, and you're looking back with like fondness and wishing you were back there, and like you hear a lot of people sort of say, gosh, I wish I realized that my body was fine. you know, remember, like maybe look at the picture and think about what was going on at that time, because you might like that picture now, but there's a reason why you didn't like it back then, and that is because your perception, and this is why I say to people, like, losing weight won't change how you feel at all. The change comes from somewhere else. It comes from within. It's very, very different. It isn't about losing weight, because, you know, to be okay with your body at any size that it decides to be throughout your life is very empowering, because we don't have control over it the way we are told. We are sold this idea that we can control our body all the time, and it's a money-making machine. It's why the diet industry is worth billions globally, billions. There's a reason for that, because it doesn't work. So we're constantly going back and back and back, trying to fix ourselves, trying to get back to a size that we weren't happy with back then. And actually, when we think about it and we really, really scrutinize those pictures, what we can often see is patterns of, you know, not liking ourselves, often disordered eating, not feeling good, not feeling confident. And yeah, that's no different to where we are when we're looking from now, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We think that if you get that body back, you'll suddenly have the confidence. And it's no, you won't. And any validation, and any validation that you get from other people is external validation, and it's fleeting. It's very fleeting. And if we're constantly chasing that validation, we just feel we never really kind of fill that hole. So yeah,
it also makes me wonder, if that's how I feel looking back at photos that were taken 20 years ago, how am I going to feel in 20 years time looking back at the few photos that there are of me now? Am I going to look back at them and go, what was I even worried about? Look, I was having a great time with my kids. I was, you know, at the forefront of my business. But it's really hard to see that now and sort of put it into perspective.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, what are we taking away from ourselves? You know, when we're talking about family photos, we're taking away, we're stepping out of those memories just simply because we want to be able to look at a picture and really like how we look. And that's kind of hard to do when you're measuring, your idea of how you should look is, you know, steeped in diet culture and beauty standards that none of us measure up to. And I was having a chat this morning with a lovely friend of mine who I think has joined us, Sarah, about this exact thing, about you know, how we're taught not to age. We're supposed to be, you know, clear skinned, like fit, thin, all these standards. We will never ever measure up, and the power is within us to stop trying and to stop believing that this is what we need to be. And if we think of it in terms of when you have a thought about a negative thought about your body or how you look, you know, the next question can be useful, and to think, who profits from me feeling that way about myself? Because there is somebody profiting on you feeling that way about yourself. And that's what we're kind of...
We put so much energy into what we look like, into trying to look younger, into trying to look fitter and healthier and slimmer. Just think of what we could achieve if we channeled that energy somewhere else and just, you know, accepted ourselves as we are, which is far easier said than done, isn't it?
And how much are we putting off into the future? Again, if you're thinking about your photos and you're running a business, you're putting off having those photos done and having your website looking how you want, because you are concerned about, you know, it not looking perfect or not being in the body you think you should have. And how empowering it would be to just accept yourself as you are now and really step into that and feel okay. You know, there's so much that people are putting off and not doing, and anything that you think, I want to do that in, you know, this amount of time, you can do it now. Your body doesn't need to change at all. It's
and then if your body does change at some point in the future, get new photos done to show it.
And this is it, you know. Yeah, exactly. That is really, really true. And I think it's important to keep updating your pictures, because it helps you to kind of be, you know, being with yourself and being with your body and accepting yourself. That is part of the acceptance piece, is, you know, continually updating them. And it is a journey. And I'm not saying that you will feel really good about your body every day. That isn't the purpose of doing body image work. That doesn't it doesn't mean I don't have bad body image days. I mean, how could we possibly, living in the society that we do live in? But it's really important to sort of get to that place where you have the tools and the ability to sit with it, and then to move on, because otherwise we just remain stuck in this never-ending thing, and then all of a sudden our life is just going by, and it's just such a shame.
Yes, absolutely. And as you say, the whole brand photography thing, which is obviously, you know, that's my bag, that's what I do. It's such a powerful thing to have that bank of photos with you in them, to show your audience who you are and what you're all about, these storytelling photos. If you're absent from that, you're missing a trick, you're missing something massive, because your audience is starting to build trust with you when they see you, and they don't see all the stuff that you see in yourself. Nobody ever does. Like we look in the mirror and we see certain things.
Of course,
people who are seeing us from the outside, they don't see that. They just see you as a trustworthy, enigmatic business owner, you know, who they want to work with.
And this is my point, is if you're trying to meet a beauty standard, that beauty standard keeps changing, and it's forever changing. And you will never, you know, what happens when we do get older, and we all do age, and this is the thing, what are we going to just stop showing up? And I think the power for women really lies in showing up, because the more we show up as we are, the more we show up in the bodies we have, the faces, that, you know, the wrinkles and everything that we have, the more we give permission to others to show up. And it disrupts this kind of beauty standard message and these filtering and Photoshop and all this stuff. And it interrupts that narrative. And the more we do that, the more we will be able to start to change things. We were talking about Photoshop, weren't we? Because we had our discussion. You were saying that you're often asked to.
I'm often asked, can you just Photoshop this, that, you know, make my thighs thinner, get rid of my tummy? And my answer is no, I don't do Photoshop. I do minor tweaks in Lightroom. I get the shot right in camera. I'm about capturing people authentically, being themselves. So I don't do that strict sort of posing either, to make them look really, you know, slim, because then they just look like the next person. They don't look like themselves. So I get them animated and doing stuff.
And this is what I think, like, we need to be doing more of, is interrupting this narrative of having like, you know, and I've done it too. If you look at my branding pictures that were done by my lovely friend Danny, but they are very typically what I thought I should be doing, and I think, you know, it's not, we often do what we think we should do, even for someone like me who's telling, you know, this is my business, this is what I'm talking about. It's like, but it's learning along the way, and this is stuff that, you know, is really like photos, and learning about how we can interrupt that messaging, and really kind of not just stick with the norm, and have, even with our you're going to tell me what they're called, the pictures where we're not in them, what's the wording?
Well, the flat lays, that kind of thing.
And the like extra pictures, the kind of extra ones that we have. I forget, there's a name for it and I've forgotten what it is, but you know, we're having those kind of shots. There is like this thing where we think it has to be this kind of like perfect Pinterest worthy look, and actually there's so much power in mixing up that narrative. This, you know, and if it isn't you, it's going to shine through. If it's not you, you're going to see that. And I think there's also so much power in when people come to work with you in real life, they don't kind of think you're someone else because you look so different.
I have had that.
It's going to happen if you Photoshop.
There was somebody, I'd only seen her online, and I met up with her, and I didn't recognize her in the cafe. I was just like, looking around, because, you know, hair and makeup had all been done. She looked really glam. Not that, I mean, she looked amazing in real life, absolutely gorgeous, but she didn't look this sort of glammed up, like she was going out to the theatre or something. She looked completely different, and so I sort of felt a little bit, well, not cheated, but just confused. And the thing about building trust with potential clients is, if you confuse them, then you lose a bit of trust. And so it's sort of showing up authentically as yourself.
It's not about not wearing makeup or anything. That's not what we're saying, is it? No. It's just about, like, if it's not true to you, if it's really typically you're only ever seen like that once a year, then it's not really going to come as authentic. And also, it's so much more enjoyable to be in a photo shoot or just having your photo taken when you can relax. You know, if your clothing's too tight, or you're really trying to like hold things a certain way because you're worried about, like, that will show in your face, and it won't be an enjoyable experience. And actually, we're paying a lot of money for these things. It's important that we're investing and we're enjoying it. I mean, this is our business, you know, we want to be showing up and being excited about it, rather than thinking, oh gosh, like, what am I going to look like? So that's why I think it really helps if you kind of, you know, can make peace with yourself, and really go for it and just get out there and have them done.
I always say in my guidelines to my clients, make sure that your clothes, you know, it's smart and presentable, fine, but not really uncomfortable,
Yeah,
because you don't want
no.
to spend the whole shoot feeling like you can't breathe and you can't move and you can't be yourself. And if you don't normally get hair and makeup done professionally, don't do it just for a shoot.
Yeah,
Just do it, you know,
agreed.
be presentable, be smart, but you don't need to go that extra mile to look like somebody else. Because if you do, when you look back at those photos, you're not going to be happy with them. Even if you look amazing, you're not going to be happy, because you're going to remember not being able to breathe, having things digging in uncomfortably, and, you know, being worried that your makeup's going to smudge. Because if you're not used to wearing a whole load of makeup, you're going to be worried about mascara. You're going to be worried about, you know, is it still in place? So it's about being comfortable in the shoot, and once you're comfortable, you can really be yourself, and that comes through in the pictures. So it doesn't matter how awesome your photographer is, if you're feeling uncomfortable, either that's going to come through in the photos, or you're going to look at them and remember, and, you know, all those feelings will come back.
Yeah, you want to be able to feel relaxed. And again, like, you know, it's, you know, I mean, I guess it's like, it's a long shoot, isn't it? It takes you know, how long typically is a shoot?
Three hours is my most popular package.
Yeah.
And 3 hours is a long time to be worried that your makeup might be
uncomfortable.
slipping and having to redo it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And again, you know, it's remembering why you think you need to look that certain way is because of how we're told we should look. And it's false. It's made up, and it's benefiting different businesses that are not our own. It's benefiting someone else. And I think, you know, if we're talking like how do I get myself into a position where I can, you know, if somebody's listening to this and thinking, gosh, yeah, I really want my branding photos done, but I really just don't feel comfortable as I am. There was a couple of things I wanted to sort of touch on, and like first one was, you know, really get familiar with seeing yourself as you are, because we have this idea in our heads, and usually it's a vision of ourselves when we were in a different size body. And we quite often think that, like, this place that we've got in our mind that we're going back to, I'm gonna return there one day, somehow. And it's often, if you're avoiding seeing yourself in pictures, in mirrors, in anything, it can really mess with your kind of ability to say, yes, I'm going to go and have my photos done, or I'm going to be in the pictures. I think that's a kind of key thing. There was another thing I think I wrote it down.
It's interesting what you say about wanting to go back, seeing those photos and thinking you can get back to that. Whereas in reality, what we're doing is stopping ourselves having adventures yet to come, because we're holding ourselves back, whether in our business or you know, just in life.
Yeah, because if
what are we stopping ourselves doing?
You're not wanting to get into your branding pictures, there's a high chance you're not wanting to get into your reels and into your stories and into your posts. And you'll be holding yourself back because you're worried, your fear of other people's judgment will be coming out on the words that you write, and also in any of the posts that you do. And so many of us are relying on social media. I have feelings about that, but that's probably another conversation. You know, we are relying on social media to be able to get ourselves seen, and that's what we want to be doing, is being seen. But that starts with us seeing ourselves exactly as we are, you know, perfect as we are. There is no benchmark. We need to sort of take that benchmark away.
So how can people do that? How can somebody start to accept who they are and see what's actually there?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really working on the belief systems, and what is it you really believe that, you know, for me, I'll take myself as an example. I believed as a woman I should have a flat stomach, but I've believed that my whole entire life. But my whole entire life, even as a child, a teenager, I've never had a flat stomach. It's just not my body shape. It's not my body type. And but it's been my pain point my whole life until now. And I think it's remembering, questioning, be curious. Like, if you're thinking your arms should look a certain way, or your stomach should look a certain way, ask yourself why. Where have you got that from? Where's that come from? And if you start to really look around you, and you look at, I opened the Apple News app this morning, and there was an article under it. It was like lots of health and fitness kind of stuff. And all the pictures were just like these stock photos. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Stock pictures. It's kind of like these stock pictures that we have of like women, and I'm like, this is where the narrative is coming from.
And what they are all photoshopped as well.
50s, yeah, exactly. Or they are a very rare body type that exists but doesn't exist for the majority of the population, because, you know, using stock pictures of diverse bodies that actually exist in life is called out as promoting obesity and stuff like that, and words that I do not associate my business with at all. But that's what will come back if people are using that. And so we're getting used to just seeing it. If you think about the TV that you watch, if you look at the lead characters, and you look at how people in thinner bodies are portrayed versus how people in larger bodies are portrayed, when you start to open your mind to it, you can't unsee it. It is everywhere. And then you start to think like, wow, this is where it's coming from. And as somebody who grew up in the low-rise jeans era, it's mortifying. I mean, honestly, like the body shame that we are exposed to. Whenever you grow up, there is a level of beauty, a standard of beauty that will be the thing at the time, and guaranteed 95% of us are going to fall outside of that. And that's where it comes from. So that would be my tip. My first tip is start thinking about, where does this idea come from that I should have XYZ type of body or body part that you're sort of struggling with. Let's go on another one. Hang on, let me think. The other one I had was, don't feel that you have to love how you look. Again, and just reiterate what I said earlier. If you're really waiting to really love what you see in the mirror, I feel like that's, it's another thing that you're going to feel like you're failing at. It's not going to make you feel any better. It's starting to see yourself as you are. It really needs to be the focus. And not waiting for that sort of super confident day, and again, it's all in our belief systems about how we look. Did I have another one? Hang on. If this is for anyone who's sort of thinking, right, I'm going to diet first. I want you to think about how dieting has served you in the past. Because if you have been a chronic dieter like I was, 20 years of weight going up and down, is that really serving you? Is that really the health that we picture as health? And we're told that it's for our health. But actually, how is it really helping us? Because what we end up with is, hating our bodies even more. And even if we lost the weight that we are aiming to lose, we're hyper focused on our body. We're not exploring the world with our brains, like thinking about other things. We're still thinking, well, okay, well, I've got here right now, how can I stay here? And we're obsessing over food in our body, and that is taking up a lot of brain space for so many people. So
can you imagine if you focus that energy and that drive into your business or doing some good for the world, instead of on the scales and how tight your belt can go and what food you've got in the fridge? Just imagine what we could achieve. If we just sort of, hid all the mirrors.
Exactly. And people want to see us as we are. They really do. People know what we look like already. They don't want to see a different version of ourselves. They don't want to do that. That's not what they're after. They're already connecting with us. And if you think about the things that are important to you in terms of the people that you see around you, the people you spend your time with, or the people that you invest in when you're investing money to work with them, whether it's goods or services, you're not worrying about their body or what they look like. That's not at the top of your list. I'm not looking for thin brand photographers. I'm looking for a good brand photographer. Does that make sense? Like, you're not, think about, and that's what people are looking for when they're looking for you. That's not what people type into Google when they're looking for somebody to help them in any aspect of life. You're not, does that make sense?
They're looking for the expert in whatever it is they're looking for. They're not looking for somebody who looks like some kind of A-list celebrity who has all the team getting them to look a certain way, and even then not really succeeding in a lot of cases.
No, not at all. No, and representation has a part to play in this. This is what I'm saying about magazines and articles and lots of stock photos that are very centered around white, thin women and this ideal body that we're told that we should have, and the TV and stuff. That's, it's kind of so influencing our buying decisions and how we kind of invest. So we really need to kind of step away from that, because actually when we really boil down what our actual values and beliefs are, it's not linked to appearance at all.
And we're now seeing, and this is what I find really tragic, is we're now seeing women who I looked up to in the 90s, who I thought were amazing, and they're now hitting a certain age where they're feeling that they've got to do all this extra stuff to themselves. And it really doesn't, I just wish that they could grow older more gracefully and more authentically, so that you know, us normal people have got something a bit more inspiring
Exactly,
to
this
look
is
to.
what we want. We want to see ourselves out, you know, that we're looking for representation all the time as humans. That's kind of like a human behavior, is to look for, you know, when we walk into rooms, we're trying to see whether we fit. We're trying to see whether we are like the people that are in there, because that we're wired for connection. But when our brains are kind of really hyper focused on appearance, we lose sight of everything else, basically. So yeah.
So where does somebody who wants to get their brand photos done, but they really don't like what they see in the mirror, they're really uncomfortable, they're saying, maybe when I drop a dress size, when I get to my target weight, what is the number one thing that they can do? What step can they take today to get them that little bit closer to actually getting their photos done so they can drive their business forward?
Well, first of all, again, like I said, start looking at where this idea comes from. Look at where it comes from. Do you know, is it, have you grown up being told that you need to be a certain size to be either healthy or attractive? You know, look at where that media messaging is coming from, and really think about who you follow on social media, because it really does influence our lives. And if you're not seeing variety in terms of, you know, and yourself represented, because it is out there, and we should be spending a lot more time, you know, around things that are, and people that look very similar to us, because that helps us. If your news feed is filled with really unattainable kind of material,
Filters.
you're going to feel bad about it. Yeah, if anything you're looking at makes you feel bad about yourself, you can mute, unfollow, turn it off, you know, detach yourself from that, because it's not, people often see it as, well, it gives me motivation. It won't give you motivation, and you can't motivate your body to be a certain size, because it's not actually about motivation. Our bodies quite often, you know, well, more often based on genetics and you know, what we have access to, our environment and all that kind of stuff. It's so little to do with how much we actually exercise and what we eat. And we are sold this idea because there are big companies making lots of money from that. So yeah, really,
that
really create your news feed. Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. That's fantastic. Okay. So yeah, thank you for lots of advice and lots of thoughts there to keep us going, I think, for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions, my door is always open. You can always drop me a message. If you're worried and you're feeling stuck, then yeah, or either of us really, we can help. Yes. Yeah, it's been lovely talking to you today. It's nice to see you. We'll meet in real life one day.
Yeah, have we not met in real life?
I don't think we have. We've known each other a really long time now, you know, since I had my business. But I just, yeah, I feel like there's lots of people that I feel like I know. Like I would know you if I bumped into you in the street, but we've never actually met in real life. So yeah, we're gonna
we need to sort
make
that
a
out.
pact to make it happen. Yeah.
Brilliant. We'll meet up for a cuppa and cake.
Yeah, definitely. And I did drink some of my tea, so it's all good.
Good.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Tamzin.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.